But otherwise, it's where it lands, that's where who's responsible. If it's in the street.
So I would like to get rid of the whole recognition that there's a difference between right-of-way and private property. Because when you drive down the road and you see a big pile, the driver doesn't know that it's, oh, that's within right-of-way, I need to call Public Works. But if it's 2 feet over, oh, that's right, it's in private property, I need to call planning.
Right.
And so it's kind of inefficient because they'll drive out and say, oh, that's on right-of-way. And they know what right-of-way is generally.
Yeah.
But it seems like codes, it's just garbage out there. Why is there a difference between right-of-way and private property? Because it's just trash out there that needs to be addressed through some mechanism.
Do you have thoughts on that, Gary?
Yeah. It's kind of like junk cars. If they're on the right of way, by our city ordinance, we are to task the property owner. So I would then have to cite the city of Frankfort for its right of way.
Right.
Whereas, and I can't tell if it's a public safety hazard for a fire truck or police officers to drive through. I mean, I guesstimate, but they then determine if they're a public health safety.
Sure.
Where it physically is parked in the street, or if there's cans on it sitting out too long or not. It goes to people who pick up cans. It goes to the police officer for the car that's sitting in the right of way.
Right.
We end up going to all the sites, but who talks to what person who's responsible isn't always us. Change it, you can change it. It's just, that's just going to be different for us and more work for us, for our 2.5 staff. Just being honest.
Can I make a point to that, please? Because, and believe me,
we go around.
I'm happy to hear y'all talking about the code enforcement aspect of this, because really the ordinance says that the police department does the garbage stuff anyway. You know, we've had to, with previous sanitation directors, we've had to go tell people to put their cans up and that kind of thing when they would just get really bad. But you know, talking about the right of way and things like that, where the code enforcement is just strictly concerned with private property maintenance. I don't know, I think, is it Bowling Green? I think Bowling Green has a very robust code enforcement where they enforce more than just that. It's an enforcement of a lot of city ordinances, a lot of different city ordinances, the types of things that wouldn't necessarily fall into the criminal aspect. So anything you can keep out of our shop, we'd be glad to. Yeah, I support the code enforcement. Might even need to hire somebody else. Who knows? Don't fall back on the police department.
I've got just a couple of requests, and then I'm finished. Rob, if you could get us a legal opinion on that property tax credit that we had talked about, and one thing that might be worth exploring here too is, when looking at this, I noticed that there's not. I don't even think there's any communities in Kentucky that does a pay-as-you-throw system, and if so, it might be just one. But we might want to look and see what legal obstacles KRS may be put in there versus other states. I know it's a very growing and popular program in other states, but it hasn't caught on in Kentucky as it has in Evanston. And I don't know if that's because of a legal mechanism or not, so it might be worth looking into that to see.
I think part of the reason is the tip landfill fees in Kentucky are so cheap, $24 a ton, whereas in Florida, Massachusetts, etc., they're much more expensive.
But that's a temporary thing, I would imagine, just in the building.
We're kind of the dumping ground for this region right now. Yeah. That's not a good thing.
No. Been that way for a long time.
Yeah.
Sort of like coal energy.
It's clean.
I got one other thought to add to the mix, and then I can be good for the day. You know, we're gonna have to calculate. We're gonna have to calculate the actual fee, an actual fee rate structure, etc. And one, I've obviously put a lot of research into this, and one thing that that I've been advised of from a few different sources is that you can, is that it's wise to calculate your initial fee based on a 5-year projection. As in, the purpose of doing this is to reduce our solid waste going to the landfill and to ultimately reduce our solid waste expenses. And so an easy trap to fall into is to set the fee at a break-even base level now, and then you see all of your revenue decline, which is really kind of the point, and then you have to kind of keep raising the fee to keep up. But one benefit to calculating, you can calculate kind of conservatively for 15% reduction in expenses within 5 years. But if you calculate the fee to be breaking even at that point, then that gives you the buffer you need up front to help cover some of the upfront,
Containers.
get going expenses, right?
Additional staff or.
Equipment.
Yeah, sure.
Well, actually, your staff for operations with going
We
to
would need
a
less than-
rollout
Yeah.
container, your staff would decrease.
Sure. We still need to pay for all these carts up
Enforcement,
front.
it might go up.
But it might go up in enforcement,
Sure.
so.
That's just something to take into account, is we need to expect our revenues to decrease.
Do the trucks have to be retrofitted?
Our trucks are fitted with the tipper,
All of
and
them?
so our trucks are semi-automated, so you would take a driver and a person.
Uh-huh.
And right now we have basically a driver and 2 people.
Uh-huh.
So by going to the cans, you could reduce,
33% of your staff.
yeah.
But with equipment upgrades, you could just go with the driver who's got the mechanical arm.
And down the
If it
road,
was
once
fully
the
automatic.
once the cans are out there, then you could buy the fully automated trucks. They're not going to work in every neighborhood in Frankfurt,
No.
but you could probably, the newer neighborhoods that are more uniform, you could probably work those in the mix as it works.
One catch to fully automated, though, is that makes it harder to handle some of the overflow and bulky items.
they still
As in,
gotta
you
get
can't
out.
maintain your current
You
level
still
of
got to have
service.
an overflow truck that follows
Right.
the routes. So it's very hard to go fully automated and still provide a high level of service.
Gary's dad wouldn't be able to get his trash container.
You say you have a route truck and then you have an overflow truck following that?
That's what we've talked to Lexington. So how do you deal with this? You've got these fully automated trucks that are very efficient, but how do you deal with couches and all these bulky items and overflow?
Yeah.
And they say, well, we have to send another truck out behind the real efficient trucks, which is basically laborers.
But right now, we're just talking about partially automated.
Yeah.
We're talking about people still going to the trucks and hooking the cans up to the truck.
There's ways of doing it efficiently also. There's trucks that have grippers on them that can have a hydraulic hoist. So there's a lot of different ways you can,
Yeah. Oh.
Carnival game.
the claw.
Use metal cans and
You'll do everything
magnetic
you need
clips.
to move forward and then come back with more questions
Electromagnet.
later.
I think we're talking 500,000 to 600,000 for the cans, for 10,000.
Is that just for garbage
Units.
cans?
That's just for the garbage cans. And so, that's, we're not, I guess the other, issue is, do you want to provide rollout recycling cans? Because that's another cost.
That would,
And our Crestwood survey I did not see any respondents saying they're wanting to purchase rollout recycling containers, nor would they really want to buy rollout garbage containers. They want everything for free.
Of course.
So
I think the garbage containers would be worked into the, people wouldn't pay, I don't think it would make sense for people to pay upfront $50 or $80 for a certain size container and then pay a monthly bill. I think it would be appropriate just, for people upfront to start paying $5 a month, $7 a month, $8 a month, whatever those numbers amount to.
I
And not
think the
have to
garbage
make a
cans
separate fee for
are
that.
the first purchase. And then like Gainesville, because we offer the free 18-gallon,
Yeah,
and then you can see what's in there, so they're not contaminating the recycling
Right.
when they have overflow. And I think that's what Gainesville is saying,
Yeah.
is we stuck with our 18-gallon recycling, and they can have as many as they want
right.
for free. But
Yeah.
we didn't want to see that the cheaters throw it
Sure.
into the rollout and try to hide it. So,
In
that's
terms of
just,
providing the cans for free or having people pay for them, I know it increases the upfront expenses, I think that can be mitigated by calculating, you know,
Right.
for 5 years out, like I was describing. But I would really hate to make people pay for the cans, you know, to actually pay full price for the cans and then subscribe to them on a regular basis. You know, I'd rather provide the cans for free, so to speak. And nothing in the world is free. Garbage collection was never
Most
free
of them
before
want
the
the
fee.
larger version.
You know, but
Have it in the calculation.
just have it in the calculation, sure. And my understanding is that you can generally expect a 10-15% annual replacement on the.
I don't know, I don't want to ask a question, but ask it on camera. I'll ask you later.
I live in the county, and it was very appreciative that the county provided me a can that I didn't have to go buy, just like, you know.
Or
for it to work.
maintain. I said, or maintain. Every time I get a new can, my doggone lid's going down the street.
They recycle my lid, and that's the most proud of them.
I mean, I know
It's
that
like trash guy.
it's never pretty watching the sausage get made, but
Give him 10 bucks.
They recycle
I
my
like the
lid.
things that we'd be comfortable asking any questions
Is this a Christmas card?
in this forum.
I just wonder,
Yeah.
is the county still pursuing the waste to energy?
Oh, yeah, I mean, it's gonna be really, the challenge with waste to energy, and Rob touched on this a bit, is that any waste to energy plant would compete you know, it would be a private plant that would compete on two economic fronts. One being, they would sell tipping fees, and they would sell electricity, and we have the lowest tipping fees and the lowest electric rates in the country. So the county's very much interested in pursuing it. It's not gonna happen overnight, it'll be very challenging, but as energy fees change, and as energy rates change, and they're viable too, that makes it more economically feasible. But it's not, the county wants to do it, I'm all for it, but it's not gonna happen this year. You know?
I think I understood that they are trying to trap the methane from the garbage landfill now.
Yeah. They just flare it off right now, which is a total waste.
Mayor, I move for adjournment.
I'll second that.
Is everybody exhausted now? You get it all out?
Yeah, I feel pretty good.
Okay, well then I'm ready to entertain a motion for adjournment.
He did.
Michael
He
did.
didn't hear you.
So moved.
I seconded that thing too.
All right, call roll.
Commissioner Waller,
Yes.
Commissioner Hadden,
Yes.
Yes.
Commissioner May,
Yes.
Mayor Brown.
It's going.